My brain had a hard time with all of it. First, I dropped my headphones and checked outside the door, only to see nothing there. Not only that, but when I looked back at the monitor, nothing, no scratches, just a blank screen. Now this is what got me thinking about the whole control thing to being with, and it was still didn't know it wasn't a point about me. I doubted my own sanity, but only for a few minutes. After that, I didn't have any problems with going near the PC, even after what I just witnessed. There was no fear towards it, but no curiosity this time. Didn't seem important back then, of course, but I should probably mention it now. Anyway, the PC was still running and the monitor was just fine. First thing I did was check in Steam. No one needed gamma or anything saying I ever met them. Except for the new game I had, everything looked normal again. Do remember how new icon though. Just those eyes with the blood trickling down underneath. Quite a sharp resolution too. I kept thinking on and off, I wanted to just imagine all of it. No one else in the house was kicking on my door off its hinges because of the noise. But believe me, it felt so real in the end. I was still unsure, but when I stopped thinking about that, because I very strange feelings started creeping up on me. It was like I wanted to sleep, but not because I was tired. It was more like a sense of just not wanting to be awake anymore. No kind of depression or anything, but I just didn't feel like me. I just fell asleep like I didn't happen. I shouldn't have. I was shown the events of the game again. It was almost exactly the same. One thing that was changed, the look. There was almost nothing cartoony about it. Everything looked so grim and real. Imagine someone putting all these characters in places through Photoshop or something that made you just a bit off from the human side. Seeing them in the perspective for the first time. You've seen them in games, but in the flesh, as it were. The eyes were still almost as big as though, so you might have found it a bit creepy. Some problem wouldn't even care about because it's Sonic, but I cared. And I wanted to stop it, but you couldn't on account of being locked in a room and being to watch through a window. I never did get shown what he did to the poor guys. I only heard the screams and the static. I should point out they weren't the screams you get in the game. They were fitting for each character. What I did get after all of it, though, was a freak bustling to the window after he was done, growling something about suffering, being a part of who I am. Can't remember the exact words, although the words I do remember was him yelling at me to wake up. I did just that, in one hell of a hurry. Didn't even get much sleep, as I was sitting on the edge of my bed. I could have sworn I was still dreaming when I saw what was on my monitor, but I wasn't, unfortunately. It looked like a video clip of the freak, but he looked as real as he was in the dream. His eyes were completely fixed on me. So seeing as you know who I'm talking about, let's go with a pet name like Freakazoid. I'll come up with something meaning for him later. You don't have any clue for him, who or what he is, but you know what he looks like. And you may think you know he does, but you don't. You really don't. It was the dark background, so I could barely see anything other than him. But I could just make out something like a crimson sky, and there was some kind of shape dancing and twisting around in the distance, like there was something that was alive. After a few seconds, I realized that it wasn't a video clip, no loop. Freakazoid was actually staring at me with a toned-down smile on his face. That feeling hit me again, only this time it was more like needing to do just one more thing before you go to sleep. You know, like 5 more minutes on the game or one more video to watch. I actually felt I needed to get him. No trace of common sense at all. The desktop came up by itself, but the background was still the same thing until he started looking at the game. The screen went a bit strange. After that, given a split second of red static here and there, the mouse cursor flew about all over the screen. Well, it all flew with the cursor being right next to the icon. My hand just went to the headphones, then the keyboard and mouse. I clicked it, and just like before, without the update look, the music scenery merged, the words, the characters, and the way they got logged out when they died. There was just one small detail you might want to know about. My hands were stuck to the keyboard and mouse, and no, I didn't mean I needed to keep my hands on them. I mean, I tried to remove them, and it was like everything was stuck on the desktop, except that I was able to slide the mouse around. I played through the end, seeing the same ending. 3 rounds of static followed by that last. Then there was another round of static. The picture stayed the same, but now it said, "What are you?" Yet another round of static, and right, okay. I didn't know if this is even going to work, and don't ask me how I'm going to do it, but I'm gonna do it. Audio undergoes second strange interference before cutting at approximately half a second of static, and the transition is followed by what can be heard as a wind blowing. Since the recording was made in an outside environment, it consistently remains the rest of the segment. 4 seconds, and there was a voice of a male with a slight diluted American accent. Males' voices would appear to be heavily modified voiceovers, including a substantially low tone from a pitch shifter. However, there is no sign of tampering of any kind throughout, except for the beginning and end of the segment, visible or otherwise. First, visible sign tampering throughout the entire recording at this point imply a crude yet unknown transition from the recording to the current segment, indicating show that the segment was placed into the recording during the process itself, the aid of another voice audio device. Having fun? I hope so. If you enjoy watching all those sealed fates, and you knew they were sealed, you knew that this was going to happen to them, and yet you just watched. Although you did more than just watch, didn't you? You took control of them, lent them to me, gave them up. You are responsible for their deaths as I am, Chris. There's something about you, something I can see. I wish I'd take a closer look at you. Let's talk in private, shall we? The background effects are added in what appears to be modified sound, because screaming in a room carries an echo. This goes throughout the rest of the segment. Several more screams are introduced in the background, all of which have been determined as a mixture of clips that have been traced into several sound archives. TV shows, videos from such site as YouTube and video game. High-powered device of some kind in the hair and changing. This particular effect has a strong tremolo effect mixed in, but does not share any kind of resemblance to known device or form of media. The audio cuts back with the same transition described at the beginning of the current segment. Okay, what you hopefully just heard, that was his voice. What he said to me. I know. It doesn't really add up that I'd have that show you, but I did just show you, I hope. What happened after was, well, as all I was really remembering the screen flashing and hurting my eyes, but he was moving with every second of it. The last thing I remember was a shot of his whole body standing straight with his arms stretched out in front. He had that same look in his face that from the before. Then everything, and I mean, in my actual vision was complete red, then black. Next step I knew, I woke up. Well, let's just say somewhere else. I can't tell you, because I don't know. Quite a few things have happened since then, my own adventures through this, but I've already driveled through what must be about half an hour. Besides, there's another important part you need to hear. I don't know how long has passed since I forgot this into whatever this is, but the thing I've seen, I don't know what this place is. If it's a dream, or if I'm hallucinating in my reality. I'm strapped down to a bed in a mental hospital or something. Or indeed, if this is some kind of place beyond our imagination, or your nightmares. I know it sounds completely insane what I'm saying, but I don't know what else to say. I would try explaining how things work and the sights that you get here, but I don't think I have the words to describe that. I can tell you something I have seen, though. Bodies, a lot brutally murdered. There's been characters either from the games or I'm guessing made up by any of you, since I don't recognize any of them. They get chased down before they disappear until he's done with them. Then there's the human victims that he chooses. Do you understand that I'm talking about real people here? These people went through the same thing as me, only they weren't so lucky. They didn't have what I've got, and they weren't saved and given a chance to even survive, much less fight back. And it's your fault. Yes, you. You keep conjuring up these little pieces of fiction, artwork, and further proof of this existence. It's because of you that this places like this exist. All of those characters that you keep creating, they got about 5 minutes of your life in the hellhole before they remain, as well as the people he chose to drag into your life for me and the others to find. And you continue to just bury this in this. And if you say, "But I played it and nothing happened," then he found you lacking. Nothing worth his attention. Why do you have to give him a rate of terror that he has? Why can't you draw him again, getting his face kicked in for a change? Why don't you give us a break already? You have to start indulging this thing's power. Believe me, once again, I know it's completely insane what I'm saying, and at the little evidence I have the words, and apparent recording, I'm not even sure what you got to hear isn't much to go on. I should imagine you'd even question how I got that. Well, I just have to. That's all I've got for you. But if you listen to this point, then there must be some part of you that convinced. Whatever all this started off as, it's grown, it's evolved, and refined itself. Even though you wouldn't know from looking at this place. Either that or it was always been here. It just needs something to give it a shape. I don't know. Something I am sure of, though, is also the reason I'm doing this. And that I'm here to tell you, you have to stop feeding him. If not for the sake or this our sake and for the sake of anyone else here, then for your own. I can't say what he looks for when he gets after someone. He's very picky, leaving so many alone. Yet there will always be a few people that spark his interest. If you believe me, then you'll make you a deal. If you leave this thing alone, then we'll fight this in peace and stop it from spreading. He can't be killed, but he can be subdued. If you don't believe me, then you're still listening. Just think about it. That's all I ask. I'm not asking for you to spread the word or stop making any of these characters, and I'm not saying destroy what there is to already to see. You can't destroy it. There will always be a copy of this stuff somewhere in the world. Even then, I doubt he let this place and end in such a way after being here for such as long as I have. I feel that even these characters you've given life in some way or another have the right to exist. And you people don't deserve to die. Wouldn't you agree? Just stop giving this creature the power it keeps using on us. Leave this one alone. He's extremely dangerous and just might choose you next. I'm literally the only living being I've come across here, so what the hell would your chances be? The only reason I've survived here is because something wanted us here, and because we're probably just as smart as the freak he is in some other way. I know what I ask is a lot. Maybe it's even impossible. It's the fact there's a part of you that's hardwired to respond to violence. You may take offense to that, but it's true. Think about it. So many of you see that all these forms of media have to give you. You play games to feel strong. You watch films to escape yourself. And when you see the news, you say, "Oh my, how tragic." Yet you keep on watching, just as long as it isn't happening to you. That's not some sick psycho you've been keeping locked up. That's just human nature ever since the start. I think the reason I've survived might be because I tried to stop the horror rather than watching it from behind the monitor or TV. I survived and I'm still fighting back, even though this is a dark, brutal place where no one was meant to live, but there's some life here. There are a lot of enemies, but there are also allies. Make whatever judgment you see fit about what I've told you. It's not like it should matter to me anymore, but if this is some kind of home for Sonic.exe, then we are all the anti-Sonic.dl, and will continue being a thorn in the fucker's side until our last breath. If you've been warned, so you're still stupid enough to put yourself in much danger, it's at your own risk. The following segment is almost inaudible due to expected interference. Mix the distorted screens that reside approximately 4 seconds. The sound clip has been cut and rearranged, with files and patches of static that continue until the end of recording. One of two. Other notable points: sudden presence. Two distinctly different voices. This is the most likely explanation of the transition between tenses I and we. The second voice, that of a male with American accent. Second point is what appears to be distorted cries making their way to the distance. He is soon to be the narrative's location, as well as the low presence of a deep-toned male's laughter. The voice is resembling to that of an individual heard in the earlier segment. Second visible sound tampering throughout the entire recording indicates that he's been determined this powerful type of jamming signal, theoretically designed to overwhelm the output of an electric device. The result seems to be in turns in the device interval. The evidence suggests that there is a delay between the signal's impact and its effect. All known jamming tech available does not possess the specific properties for the signal. Found. Surprise! It not my fault. Drag it. Agree. Here. Yeah. Other choice. Oh, you know. Said we fight alone in peace. Amen. Here. Sad continues with what he heard as several as the yet unidentified creatures, followed by what is believed to be gunfire from at least 5 different sources, accompanied by shouting from the narrators. There are two American accents belonging to both a female and a male. The third is that of another British male. There's the sound implying further the use of tools or projectors, some kind of lethal force and high tech. Whether these are tools or weapons cannot be determined, although it is likely all mentioned factors that take place over approximately the last 8 seconds. No! I'm trying. He's over us! Look out! Oh, fuck! A struggle takes place between the narrator and the what is believed to be apparent creatures from which cries are originated from. The gunfire continues, almost remaining consistently throughout. The recording ends with the sound of an opening description, only now more like the jack being removed. Based on a loose consumption that is a mere hoax, it is unknown whether or not the persons responsible for this file will survive the incident. File has been all dismissed as a hoax due to the lack of concrete evidence, claims such as Ellen Sound Cliff found in already existing forms of media. Also noted is that there is or never has been anyone by the name of Chris Lawrence, or an evidence individual having his personal details filed under missing persons. Neither that has anyone having taken up residence or even connected to anywhere near the area of the alleged disappearance. To prove this further, locals in the area connected to claim that they've never heard of such a person.